Coming up next on Headline Humboldt, the Cal Poly Humboldt campus will remain closed through the weekend as anti-Gaza war protesters continue to occupy buildings and university staff members issue a letter decrying the treatment of protesters by police and school administrators. Also, we talk with mental health advocate Nagy and Jacob Rosen from the City of Eureka about Mental Health Month and the recently passed Proposition 1 and what it means for the treatment of mental illness in California. Coming up now on Headline Humboldt. From the top of Humboldt Hill, this is Headline Humboldt. I'm James Falk. Thanks for joining us. May is Mental Health Month, but choosing 1 month per year to mark the importance of good mental health is hardly a sufficient reminder. As you all know, I've suffered from anxiety. I've wrestled with depression. Both of these conditions led me to live a miserable life that was only made bearable through a practice of self-medicating that ultimately led to a fierce opiate addiction. It was only after I got treated for those underlying conditions that I was able to fully face this addiction and make the sorts of changes that ultimately led to me sitting in this chair, as glorious as it is. If it hadn't been for the patience and love that my family demonstrated repeatedly, I don't know that I would have survived my own struggles with mental illness. I've seen the issue from both sides as a child whose father was schizophrenic and largely unable to lead a normal life, a man shackled by heavy medications and despair to the beat-down sofa in our living room, and also as a patient myself, who despite knowing the damage caused by my condition, was for years unable to make the changes that ultimately saved my life. Empathy from all sides is what's required. Tonight, we speak with mental health advocate Nagy from the National Alliance for the Mentally Ill, or NAMI Humboldt, as well as Jacob Rosen from the City of Eureka, to discuss the issue of mental health and how the recently passed Proposition 1 may help change that conversation. But first, the news. Dozens of protesters have occupied parts of the Cal Poly Humboldt campus, including Siemens Hall, to protest the ongoing war in Gaza. Tents and food stations have been set up in various locations, and tensions have simmered some after an earlier confrontation between law enforcement and protesters led to the building's occupation. The university announced earlier this week that the campus will be closed through the upcoming weekend because of the protests, with some instruction continuing remotely, according to a press release from the university. The safety, health, and well-being of our students is paramount as the situation has become increasingly complex. There are unidentified non-students with unknown intentions in Siemens Hall. This creates an unpredictable environment, unquote. The school claims that barricading the building has become a fire hazard and that the toilets have stopped working. Quote, in recent days, hateful graffiti has been painted on university property. The university condemns in the strongest terms all forms of hatred, bigotry, and violence. Anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, hatred, and bigotry in all forms have no place at Cal Poly Humboldt. The university is actively offering support to all students and has been in touch with local Jewish community leaders, unquote. The press release went on to say that the university supports free speech through an open dialogue that is respectful and constructive. Quote, that does not include behavior that involves destroying and damaging property and disrupting students, faculty, and staff from learning, teaching, and working, unquote. This take on the week's events is hardly unanimous. A letter issued by the university's faculty, signed by hundreds of staff members and professors, doesn't mince words. Quote, as faculty at Cal Poly Humboldt, we deplore the use of physical violence by university, local and regional police officers and sheriffs, and the deployment of other extreme tactics, such as helicopters, to surveil students, escalate tensions, and criminalize free speech exercised by students calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. We also find unacceptable the attempt to shut down student voices by shutting down the campus, the letter reads. The faculty letter goes on to call for university administrators to, quote, reflect on the real harm that this crackdown on free speech inflicts and the message it sends to current and future students, their parents, faculty, and staff, and our communities within and beyond Humboldt. Brutalizing students who raise urgent protests according to their consciences is shameful. Our students are responding in earnest to our federal government's support of genocidal violence against an oppressed indigenous people, Palestinians living in Gaza, who are already refugees, the victims of previous ethnic cleansing, unquote. There's a lot of words, but we got through it. We will have more coverage of this issue and we'll hear from students next week. Now for the interview, we're joined by Nagy from Nagy Humboldt and Jacob Rosen from the city's CARE program. Thank you guys for making time and coming down.
You're welcome, James. We're so glad to be here.
So May is Mental Health Month, and we've talked before. I've had you guys on the show before for a really delightful episode. And mental health is obviously close to my life. I've had issues with mental health myself and my parents, and as it tends to happen, it goes back in families and whatnot. So it's an important issue to me, and May is coming up, and so that's going to be, the time when the community highlights that issue. One of the biggest developments that have come along recently is Proposition 1, and we'll get to that in a moment. But can you sort of describe for me how you feel like the fight is going right now in terms of gathering resources, getting the community to address the problem in an appropriate manner? Are we making progress, or are we still in the same boat that we've been in for the last 25 years?
Well, I can answer that first, Jacob, and give you a chance at it. But, because of COVID, which wasn't a good experience for most of us, I think there's a lot more attention on mental health, mental wellness. Yeah. More people are needing services. There's still a long ways to go, but little by little, especially in Humboldt County with the CARE team and the MISS team, and Nagy Humboldt, other organizations coming together, we're just trying to make a difference here. Yeah. And we'll talk in a few minutes about our upcoming event on May 4th. But yeah. I always look at it as little baby steps and just trying to make things better for even just one or two people, at a time. Absolutely. But I think we're making progress. What do you think, Jacob?
I think we are. I'm hopeful. I think that there's a lot of different projects that are in the works, and as we'll get into with Prop 1, hopefully some of those changes end up helping that along. I know that it's been kind of a controversial proposition, and it only passed by 0.5%.
It barely passed. Yes,
and there's some questions around kind of the implementation and if that will help or not. For a long time, it's been kind of a Red Queen effect, right? If we kind of refer back to Alice in Wonderland, we're running as fast as we can just to keep up. Yeah. And especially with COVID, that really exacerbated things. The demand for services has increased. And combined with the fact that we then need to graduate more people into the profession to provide those services, we need to kind of do things twofold. We need to increase our services. We also need to then increase our workforce. Yeah. And that's been the real challenge. And so we end up implementing new programs and making progress in that realm. But then it's staffing those programs, and then it's how do we facilitate more people graduating into the field and being interested. Yeah. And that's kind of the challenge and the balance that we have to walk.
Absolutely. When I was a kid, I noticed that the main hurdle for my own family was the stigma. We couldn't even really talk about it because it was so embarrassing to my grandmother and my mom with the condition that my dad was in and whatnot. So I didn't really even get a full explanation of what was happening until I was probably way old enough and had carried around a lot of shame for reasons I didn't really understand. Do you think that part of it is evolving? It seems like people are more aware and empathetic now, and they understand how so many issues lead back to mental health as the primary cause, or at least one of them. But starting with you, Jacob, do you think that is slowly changing over time, and to what do we owe that change?
I do. I think it's changing. I think it is getting better. I think we owe the change really to partnerships. Mm-hmm. If we look at the partnership that, say, the City of Eureka has made with Nagy Humboldt and with County Behavioral Health and all these other wonderful agencies, I think the more that we come together and the more that we get the word out there and we do these events, such as the community town hall events last year and the event that we're putting on May 4th to kick off May is Mental Health Month, the more that we can get that word out there, the more that we can make it public that mental health affects everybody and that there is treatment for it. It is a healthcare condition. It is not a moral choice. Yes, there is, we shouldn't have stigma. It's no different than someone who has cancer, than someone who has organ failure. The brain is an organ, and we need to treat it as such. And I think the more that we can shine light on that and talk about it and have these discussions, the more progress we will make, especially when we do it as a partnership.
Now, Nagy Humboldt is right on the front lines of that battle. That's kind of what you guys do, right?
James, I'm glad you asked that question because I heard quite a while ago that empathy and reducing stigma and discrimination starts when you know someone that has had or does have a mental illness. Yeah. Maybe there's somebody in your family or a best friend, and you go, wait a minute, 1 in 4 people can develop mental illness. from the grace of God, maybe I don't, but maybe my son does.
Yeah.
And just that little knowledge. I mean, even one of our family members in the support group said, now I look at people on the street, I know it could be my son or my daughter. So it changes your perspective. And like Jacob said, I think working with other agencies, getting the word out, doing as much advocacy as you can, that, it can happen overnight almost to anyone. I mean, my son was fairly normal, and then 3 days later had a manic bipolar episode at age 24, and no one, I hate to say this, I didn't even know where Sempervirus was. I didn't care, I didn't want to know, but I was drafted and I'm still in the Army.
Yeah,
The fighting army against stigma.
I hear that.
Yeah.
Now, so it's been interesting and sort of upsetting over the years. I mean, as someone who's been, my family's involved in mental health, to sort of chart the legislative solutions or the lack thereof. When I was a kid, my parents were always, they were complaining about Ronald Reagan because there was a lot of mental health money that was cut around the time he was governor, I guess. And so a lot of the services or opportunities that were available for him kind of got, were shrunk and put in cupboards, and we weren't able to access them anymore. But I know that in 2004, we passed the Mental Health Services Act, and then this most recent California Proposition 1 is sort of an updating of that, and it includes addiction among the, which I think is fantastic, among the diseases or whatever that it's dealing with. So I think that's major progress. But can you talk to us about what Proposition 1 is, where you see it's progressing, and if there's anything that you think it should have taken on that it hasn't? Jacob, start with you.
Yeah, so Prop 1, and again, is controversial. It passed by 0.5%. So I mean, we're really as split as we can be across the state.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of pros. There are definitely some concerns around how it changes the Mental Health Services Act.
Yeah.
Essentially, very long story short, Prop 1 repurposes some of the money that goes into MHSA that goes to the counties, pulls some of it a little extra, stays at the state level to be redistributed to tribes and municipalities. And then it also changes the categories that the counties have to spend the money on. And by reshifting some of those categories, the concern is that may kind of cut funding for critical programs that are already in place.
Yeah.
The categories then shift, though, to then push money more towards substance use treatment and supporting folks who are homeless, because we see such an overlap of those who are homeless and who are also experiencing addiction and mental health issues.
And that's such a huge issue statewide right now.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, to put some local context into that, about 2/3 of the population that my program, Crisis Alternative Response of Eureka, works with, who are experiencing a mental health or a substance use crisis, are also experiencing homelessness. And so about the time we're finding, 2/3 of our responses are requiring some sort of attention to how do we get this person housing. We need more resources in that realm, right? And so the hope is that some of these changes and how that funding is used can help create programs to push people in that direction and get them housed, while then also getting services rolled in. The concern is that we're kind of in a situation where we need more money altogether across the board for these services. And so moving money from one side to another is concerning, because we may be losing critical services. And I know from my colleagues over at the county, that's one of their biggest concerns with Prop 1 is that they may be using that funding for programs that they're running that have been successful and are helpful, and they may be put in a position where, because they're getting a little bit less money because of what the state is keeping, combined with them being forced to put it into different kind of pots, so to speak, they may have to cut some of that programming, which would be unfortunate.
Yeah, this doesn't raise the amount of money that's coming in then.
So for the MHSA component, it does not. What the part that raises money is there is that $6.4 billion bond that is being put towards, they're splitting that up, if I remember correctly. There's some workforce development stuff in there, which is excellent. We definitely need that, right? Building, creating programs and funding to increase the amount of folks who are, getting educated and becoming professionals in mental health is important. And then a lot of that's going towards infrastructure. When we were here last, we talked a lot about SB 43, which adds substance use disorders into the grave disability category. And people, once SB 43 becomes active, by the way, Humboldt has delayed the implementation of that for 2 years, as have most of the rest of the counties in the state, just because there aren't facilities. I mean, if someone gets placed on a 5150 because of their substance use disorder, they end up in the ER, and there's nowhere to go. Inpatient psychiatric facilities like Semper Virens quite literally can't bill for a primary substance use disorder. And so it makes it really difficult. And so a lot of that money from the bond is supposed to go towards developing the infrastructure to hopefully support getting people those services.
That's, I mean, such a huge issue where you have people who are making up a large percentage of the treatment that's needed. If it's addiction related, you want to be able to help them, but if that's coming at the cost of treating other psychiatric patients, that's kind of a no-win situation either way you go about it.
It's tough. It's tough, and I think that's why the vote was so split.
Yeah. Now, Leah, one of the things that we talked about the last time we were on was that there were some concerns about whether or not this might lead to families involuntarily committing folks who are mentally ill, and that whether or not that might be, form some sort of a civil rights violation like that. And you made a very compelling argument about why, in some cases, that's actually good that people would have the ability to do that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I don't know that families can involuntarily, commit somebody.
So that was maybe the misunderstanding.
That was, but part of it. And Jacob's so knowledgeable about all this, but the SB 43 expanded the definition of gravely disabled. So what happens is families will provide housing and food and drive them to appointments, and they become psychotic. And if the families weren't providing those things, they would be homeless on the street. So I think that when 5150 welfare check is called, folks take that into consideration, that this person would be homeless and gravely disabled if things weren't provided. Because in the past, you would say to family members, you have to make them homeless, you can't give them food, you can't give them rides, you can't support them in any way. Now, what parent, if their child is ill, I mean, you don't tell a parent that with somebody with cancer or diabetes. So that's something families can't do. They might be able to do some of it and create some boundaries, but this expansion helps with families trying to help someone get involuntary treatment, but families themselves don't actually put them there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. They're not the ones responsible for making it.
The other expansion part is the medical part, where if someone has a serious medical condition and they're mentally ill and psychotic, like maybe they have bleeding ulcers or feet that need attention, they can be placed on a 5150 hold to get services for the medical necessity part, and that's fairly new. And Jacob, is there's something else that's different?
So it kind of does SB 43 does three main things. So it adds 2 criteria to gravely disabled, which is that the person has to be able to account for personal safety. So if they can't account for their own personal safety on their own, that now qualifies for grave disability. There's some questions around.
So that's basically that means if someone's impervious to their own well-being, is that right? Okay.
Yeah, they might go in front of a truck or walk out in the middle of a dark street in dark clothing and get hit by a car, that kind of thing, right?
Absolutely. And so, and there's still some clarification that we would like from the state on, what personal safety is defined as. The other piece that it adds is neglect of medical issues, right? So really critical medical issues. So if someone has delusions that, they don't need to take their diabetes medication, and all of a sudden their blood sugar is 800, and they're having a medical crisis, that could be a situation where that person could then be placed on a 5150.
Can I ask a follow-up question to that? When I was out and using, which was a long time ago, but it did happen, there were people who were addicts who may have been, manic depressive, but they didn't have serious mental illness to where they were, not living in our joint or shared reality. But they had health issues that they weren't taking care of, like abscesses or things along those lines that could very quickly turn, septic or whatever else. Could that potentially be used in the same way?
It possibly could, and again, we need a little more clarification from the state on what is going to be defined as like a neglect of a critical medical issue. And the third thing that it does is it actually then also so gravely disabled for all the things under the 5150 up to SB 43 is specifically had to be related to a mental health disorder. And so now what it says is a mental health disorder, substance use disorder, or mental health and substance use disorder. And so it really I mean, we go from here to here as far as the scope goes, and so it creates a situation where it will be an excellent tool when we have that infrastructure, but we don't have that infrastructure yet. So in a way, we've kind of put the cart before the horse, and we need to now catch up and build that infrastructure, which is then where Prop 1 ties in, and hopefully that $6.4 million or $1 billion bond is able to assist with creating some of that infrastructure in the time that most of the counties have delayed SB 43 for implementation.
Do you have any idea how that's going to work? Where the counties put in bids or RFPs for particular projects, or?
So I don't know how they're going to split that bond out specifically. I know if we look at how they've been using some other money from a block grant that the state has been giving out, the Behavioral Health Continuum Improvement Grant, I believe, BCHIP. The way that they've done that is essentially they split the state into regions, and then each region can apply for a pot of money, and then they also have a separate pot that they can use kind of at their discretion. Humboldt County is benefiting from that. Last year, Humboldt County Behavioral Health, along with a whole slew of partners, were able to partner up and especially with Mad River Hospital, and they did succeed in getting a grant for $12.7 million to build a triage center up on Mad River's campus, which is going to be great. That should be completed around 2027, and that is part of that kind of block grant funding. And so from some of the folks I've talked with, maybe the thought is maybe they will funnel that bond into a similar block grant style situation where then groups or different jurisdictions can apply for that money and then do improvements in that area.
I have one more question for Jacob, and then I have a bunch for you. So, but real quick, I mean, I wonder, does the Proposition 1 create an oppositional relationship between city and county? Because if they're going to take some of that money and move it to municipalities, how is that getting worked out?
We haven't hit any of those barriers yet. I'm wondering if that will happen myself. As someone who works for a city government right now, previously worked for a county government.
I knew that.
I mean, for me, great. I mean, now that may allow our program, for example, to apply for funding from the state at some point when that starts to roll through. And at the same time, I mean, I know some of the programs and have worked with some of the programs that do benefit from MHSA funding, and I mean, I would be devastated to see those programs lose that funding too. And so I mean, it's this really like difficult thing where I mean, yes, if things were working well, we wouldn't have had Prop 1 in the first place, right? So something has to change. I personally, I don't know if moving money from one side to the other is going to be that shift, but we need to try something. Because we need to keep up. And we know mental health issues are getting worse, especially post-COVID. Demand is far exceeding our capacity to serve, and it's just going to get worse by 2030. And so I mean, we need to do something drastic. I hope this works in that direction. I would advocate for more money overall.
Yeah, of course. So Leah, you work with people who either have mental illness or are in the families, support groups and stuff. What are they feeling right now? I mean, do they feel like that all these changes and the proposition are working toward a better place for them, or are they feeling like they're being neglected?
They're very positive about the step that the legislation has taken. Of course, like Jacob said, there's not enough providers, but you have to start somewhere. So hopefully people will realize you need more money to get these things off the ground and more workforce training. But all in all, they're happy it passed. We were nervous about it. It barely passed, but it passed. And like in the past with Nagy Humboldt supporting MHSA money and that whole election process, Nagy Humboldt's on the forefront of trying to get more services and better help for families. So yeah, they're okay with things the way they are. My role a lot is to help families understand there are limited resources and there are involuntary treatment laws, and you don't run the ship, and you can't just say keep them in the hospital for longer or 5150 them. It's a very complicated process. So I think educating families through the 3 support groups I do a week, and just letting them know we're all on the same side, the county, the city, Nagy Humboldt, we all want people to get better and we want to end homelessness. So getting a more united front, I think, is really helpful.
We have a lower third that has their web address. If people want to go and kind of see the services that are provided.
So NAMI-Humboldt.org, you can get on there and you can see my support groups. I think my phone number's on there. hold a family-to-family class, which is an 8-week free course for families and community members. That date will appear. We're hoping to start one in the fall. And there's also other information. And we just had a young man volunteer to do updating our website. So it's current, and it'll talk about a lot of things. So that's and then there's also a national NAMI website, which is nationwide. But this NAMI-Humboldt.org is really local. And it'll have all the events for May is Mental Health Month, because there's so much stuff. There's a walk, there's a Board of Supervisors proclamation, there's a lot of stuff going on. So they can get on that website and find out what we're up to.
But for the coming up next week, right? Is it next week now already? Jeez.
Yeah,
From Saturday.
Yeah, May 4th.
It's the first
right?
Saturday in May.
There it is. The flyer's on the screen. But Saturday,
Yep.
May 4th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Embracing Humanity. Can you guys tell us what's going on there?
Well, we're pretty excited. I'll say a little bit, and then I'll let Jacob add. But so we were, Jacob and I and some other people went to Detroit to international crisis intervention training, and there was a keynote speaker there that was really good named Joe Roberts. And so we wanted a dynamic keynote speaker for this event. And we've got Joe to come from Canada, and he was homeless, substance abuse, and I think had some mental illness, and was living under a bridge in Canada. And he ended up with recovery and with people that helped him in treatment. And then he ended up pushing a shopping cart 5,000 miles across Canada to bring awareness to homelessness and that whole issue.
Wow.
So it's going to be exciting. And I'll let Jacob, maybe you want to
We
talk?
have 90 seconds left in the show.
Okay, how about
Got
that?
Yeah, so Embracing Humanity, we, in the Town Hall series last year, we did that quarterly. This year we decided we really wanted to have a bigger event and do something that was more dynamic. And so we figured, why not do it during May with Mental Health Month? So we're really excited to have Skid Row CEO Joe Roberts come down from Canada and guest speak. He was absolutely incredible when I had the privilege of seeing him in Detroit. We're excited about that. We have 2 panels, a professional panel before that, as well as a person with lived experience panel before that. And so that'll be a great time for the public to come in and ask questions and kind of get to see what people in the area are doing, and to be able to hear from people who have firsthand experience with mental health and substance use issues.
Well, I know from my own experience and having met some fantastic people, it's often those folks who have been there and gotten out or figured out a way to sort of transcend that situation that inspire people and teach empathy, because no one is gone. You know what I mean? And there's always an opportunity, there's always hope. And
There's always hope.
Yes, exactly right. I think it's important for people to be able to see.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys for coming in.
All right.
And
Thank
we'll
you.
See you guys
We'll
again
come
soon.
back anytime.
I bet you will, and we'll have you back soon. All right,
Sounds
guys.
good.
If you appreciate these kinds of important and thoughtful conversations, don't forget to become a KEET member and help us stay on the air. You all absolutely make this show possible. Stay tuned, stay informed.